In today's story, a former Navy petty officer has been convicted and sentenced in relation to willfully torturing her own 5-year-old by starving her 5-year-old daughter to death. She has been sentenced in relation to this crime. Let's learn more about this horror show. The 30-year-old mother and former Navy petty officer will spend the rest of her life behind bars for the starving and killing of her 5-year-old daughter. The circuit judge ordered Brianna Shantae Williams to serve life sentence for the slaying of Taylor Williams. Williams had pled guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder in her daughter's death. She did the starving and the torturing of her own 5-year-old daughter. According to a press release from the state's attorney's office, Williams, in 2019, called the sheriff's office to report her daughter was missing. Her 5-year-old daughter was missing. This is going to result in many, many questions. She claims she found the back door to her home opened, sparking a massive search and rescue effort for the missing child. As the search effort unfolded, however, prosecutors said Williams became uncooperative with law enforcement and lied about things in the timeline. So, as they're doing their search, they're questioning her, and she's acting a little bit suspicious. Yeah. The investigation showed that Williams, days prior to Taylor's disappearance, traveled to a remote area of Alabama where she briefly stayed before immediately returning to Jacksonville. Less than 1 week after Taylor was reported missing, the police department in Alabama discovered human remains buried in a shallow grave in the same area where Williams had recently traveled and briefly stopped. Yeah. Soon after the discovery, forensic analysis confirmed the remains belonged to Taylor. In a probable cause affidavit filed with the initial arrest warrant, authorities said that Williams did willfully torture, maliciously punish, or willfully cage her daughter prior to death. Yeah. Prosecutors sought a life sentence while the public defender asked the court to sentence the client, to the minimum of 20.5 years in prison, emphasizing she was a first-time offender who had served her country. I mean, thank you for your service and all, but you did torture and starve a 5-year-old girl. So, no. The judge cited evidence produced during the multi-day sentencing hearing that showed that Williams had done no significant grocery shopping in the days leading up to the death, and that when Taylor was last seen, she was small and appeared to have lost weight. Medical examiners are apparently unable to discern an exact cause of death because of the manner in which her body was disposed. I honestly don't want to know anymore. I think that's enough detail. Thank you. When Williams' home was searched by law enforcement officials, they reportedly found no evidence a child lived there save for a small bed that was covered in urine, feces, and maggots. However, one of the closets in the apartment that had been locked from the outside reportedly had blood spatter on the inside floor and walls and smelled of putrid bodily waste and human decomposition. So it seems like she might have kept her 5-year-old daughter in a locked closet and then murdered her in said closet. Okay. Prior to being sentenced, a mitigation specialist from the public defender's office, and you've got to admire this person on some level. I mean, there are tough cases and there are tough cases, and we have to admire lawyers all. But my heart goes out to this person, because how hard does it have to be the mitigation specialist for the public defender's office with this case? I mean, that's a rough one. Attorneys are taught, and rightfully so, to zealously defend their client. And your job is to mitigate it. Your job is to make it sound less bad than it is. You are the mitigation specialist for the public defender's office. We found the body in a shallow grave. She hadn't bought groceries. There was no evidence a young child lived there. The bed that did exist had urine and feces. We did find the smell of death inside a locked closet also filled with the child's blood. Okay, mitigate that. Go. I mean, that's I feel for that. I really do. That's a rough one. So the mitigation specialist apparently read Williams' statement to the court because Williams was too scared and nervous to read it aloud herself. So here apparently are the words of the mother. I knew what I did was wrong. Okay. I failed as a mother, protector, and as a decent human being. Well, at least there's some recognition, I suppose. It's a little late, but I think I failed as a mother, protector, and a decent human being. I would have to concur that yes, there's some signs of failure when it comes to the mother, protector, and decent human being thing. You a little bit came short of that standard. I didn't immediately call the police, and when I finally called, I lied and lied some more. I didn't take any timely opportunity to right my wrongs. Okay. I apologize to everyone affected by this tragedy. I'm tormented and punished every day since losing my baby. You murdered her. I tried to kill myself to escape the law. Well, you failed. However, I'm not asking for any sympathy. I deserve everything I received in the past. Well, I blame no one but myself. Well, I suppose that's something. Some moment of recognition, however late it might have come. Okay, let's wrap up this horror show. Thus, that brings us to the end of the story of Brianna Shante Williams, 30, who was a mother of a child of 5, who apparently kept her child locked in a closet, and there were no evidence of children living there except for a bed that also had urine and feces, and it seems like the mother starved the baby to death, child to death, before taking it to Alabama and murdering the child and burying it in a shallow grave. And then claimed that the child had just run away. She has, unsurprisingly, been sentenced to prison for the rest of her life. And at least in her last moments of freedom, expressed her sorrow, or expressed her knowledge of her wrongdoing, which I suppose is something. So, yeah. So that, at least for the moment, brings the end discussion of this story.